there, and welcome to the Big Lake and Southern Railroad, home of the Little Signal Company. In this video, we are going to talk about breaking ground on our new layout. We just relocated from the New England area to sunny Florida, and now that we have settled in, it's time to get the tracks down and the trains running. Our layout is going to go in via several phases. Phase 1 is going to be a dual main line loop that travels the back side of the lanai pool area and follows around a large established magnolia tree. The idea is to build it both elevated and on the ground to get a feel for multiple levels of railroading. We will talk about the other phases in later videos because frankly, we don't have those all figured out yet. Phase 1. In this phase, two main lines will travel in a straight line at the elevated point and also loop back to travel on the ground as well. There will be at least two tunnels, one that is a single train line and the other will be parallel lines that will eventually feed into a larger train yard and also allow for looping back and up to the elevated positions again. We are going to include two siding tracks as well to allow for parking and additional hookup of freight. The overall linear run of track will be approximately 1,200 feet. From the pictures, you can see that there's a lot of work to be done. The rocks need to be removed, cleaned, and placed in other gardens around the property. We also have to consider that the lanai is screened, and we can't build directly against it with a retaining wall for the elevated part, or else it might tear. The land is rough and will need to be sculpted and adjusted to allow for the new retaining walls to outline the garden railroad space. There are two large rocks that will need to be relocated. Each of these is on the corners of the outside of the screened lanai. Here we are laying out tracks to get a sense of overall size and scope, how this may look, and get some baseline measurements. Each train line will be 8 inches on center from each of the other lines. This will allow for wide car and even live steam engines to be run on the layout. This will also provide extra space to allow for electric bungalows and signal systems, which we will include, as this is our specialty. In this next picture, you will see one of our junior engineers taking a quick break. His name is Andrew. Hi, Andrew. Oh, sorry. Got derailed for a second there. See what I did there? Oh, I cracked myself up. Anyway, you will also see in this picture that the track moves towards a large rock. We will remove this rock and, in its place, we will have dual level tracks as one level will tunnel underneath the other before it continues out in a nice long 40-foot straight run. These loop radii sizes are 10 foot at a minimum. We have SD40 engines, intermodals, and car carriers which require a 10-foot minimum radius to run. So we want to plan accordingly for those longer cars and engines to run successfully on this layout. At some point, we will expand each line off on the magnolia side of the lanai into phase 3. This will branch out to another garden area and house another 2 main line loops. For now, though, we will keep some straight track here that we plan to swap with number 6 switches later on. On the other end of the lanai, we are still deciding on whether we want to loop the lines out and then connect them into a junction place that will feed phases 2 and 4, or have them tunnel straight out, which is the likely outcome, and then have them split to phases 2 and 4. Phase 2 will be an 8 rail yard, while phase 3 will be another loop out and around the workshop. After 4 days of work, we got a lot of ground covered. If you are familiar with Florida, the dirt isn't actually dirt, but sand. So sculpting the ground is very easy to do. Certainly when compared to New Hampshire, they don't call it the Granite State for nothing. However, the grass grows very thick in Florida, as it is typically laid sod in nearly all cases. That took some cutting to get through and a lot of scraping to remove. We also ran into a lot of spindly roots off the magnolia tree. For this reason, we are going to tear down the wall and have it only recess slightly into the ground. This will keep the work to a minimum. You will notice that there are these little bump outs where the ground has been cut. These are termite cylinders that we will need to have moved by our pest control services. We thought we would only need 38 inches off the lanai, but it turns out we need more like 42 inches instead. So these will need to be moved before we can start laying blocks down. In this picture, you can see we have flags and ground paint to replace the rails we put out. This allows us to see where we need to sculpt and keeps the tracks out of the way in case we need to mow or trim before it all gets changed around. Lots of white and pink flags to mark endpoints of curves and straights helps us to keep things sorted as to what track we plan to use in which location. We can see here that we have the first part of the outside wall cut at a depth of 7 inches off our level line. This will give us 2 inches of compact to lay down and then a single retaining wall block height plus the capstone. The rail will sit on the capstone for some of the run. Now, there are a lot of ways to lay rail down. Some people will pour concrete, others will build a bedding with various aggregate. In a way, we are going to go with the mix of both. Instead of pouring concrete though, we are going to drill holes in the concrete capstones and glue in anchors that we will attach to the track. From there, we will lay down a layer of aggregate bedding to give it a realistic rail bed look. And that's it, at least for this video anyway. Stay tuned for next time when we start to build our retaining wall and stop by the village's Model Train Club Summer Expo. If you're curious about our progress on this backyard railroad adventure, please like and subscribe to our channel. Please also be sure to check us out at our website at littlesignalco.com. Hope to see you next time. Bye!